Welcome to the Sideload, where we are mowing the lawn, painting the house, and commuting to work without lifting a finger. I'm your host, Will Sattelberg. This week, I'm joined by Chris Wedel. You've probably read Chris's writing at sites like CNET, Android Central, and XDA, but Chris is also the mind behind the YouTube channel Gadgets and Gravel, where he reviews practically every gadget under the sun, especially if it is quite literally under the sun, as he is right now. Hi, Chris.
It's where I feel at home, man. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly on brand, and I think a good way to get started on the conversation we're gonna have today, because it's kind of like Android adjacent, right? It's mobile adjacent what we're gonna talk about, because I feel like, especially since having launched this channel earlier this year, right?
Yeah, February.
Yeah. I feel like you have really dove deep into like the smart home side, and not just like like a Ring doorbell or something like that, or a smart cam, but like the weird niche world of smart home stuff, which I, to be honest with you, find so much more interesting, because there are so many weird gadgets out there, and you are so good at spotlighting some of them. So I'm really excited to talk about the channel and some of your favorite gadgets, and also just excited to have you, Chris, because you are every time you and I hang out, we have a blast together, and we ignore our football rivalry. I haven't even commented on the shirt you're wearing. We've been talking for 20 minutes.
It was a total accident. I did not mean to do this at all.
Oh yeah, okay, all right. That's fine. I believe that. No. I want you to know. Notice the shirt right away. For listeners, he's wearing a Chiefs shirt. I'm a Bills fan. I have no room to talk right now because I think we might be fraudulent. But we if we do any football conversation, we're going to save it for the end.
There we go.
The people who do not care.
That could run us out real quick.
Yeah. So don't worry. I just wanted to acknowledge the shirt. I saw it. It's been spotted. Chris, tell me a little bit about Gadgets and Gravel, the process, the ideas behind it, anything you want to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Gadgets and Gravel is kind of an idea that it came up 2 or 3 years ago. I happened to be in Barcelona MWC, and actually might have been the one that we first met at. But I was there, and I'd been in the publishing world for about 3 years or so. And at the time I was with XDA, and just kind of seeing how the publishing world was and kind of different stuff in the areas I was interested in. And like most publications, YouTubers and even writers in general, either are from or live currently and generally talk, in my thought, to like more coastal and major cities.
Sure.
And so Midwestern, I'm Kansas kid, born and raised, lived here 99% of my life. And so there's a lot of people in my area that really don't accept or understand or just kind of things are conveyed differently and understood differently in a Midwestern area. And so my thought was taking the information and the knowledge and just the enjoyment I have of like consumer tech, outdoor gadgets, and all that stuff, and kind of put it into one place and give it from my perspective. And that was kind of how I wrote. So I mean, if you've ever read any of my articles, maybe the listeners out there, one of the things I've been told multiple times is like my voice is unique in the space. And so I was like, well, I might as well take that into video format so I have a little more control over what I'm doing. And so that's my whole thing. And so the shtick is, consumer tech, in outdoor gadgets, and other equipment from a Midwestern perspective. It's kind of the shtick behind the idea anyways.
The most striking thing about when I watch any of your videos, Chris, is that it's like you are constantly set behind like these huge, open fields or right. Like you can feel that this is not in New York City. This is not, in San Francisco. Like this is a perspective that I agree with you is not, even as someone who lives in a smaller city like Buffalo, but still relatively on the East Coast adjacent. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle between that and like where the Midwest technically starts. I think even compared to that, I think you are like a night and day voice, in a fresh one, and like a fresh perspective that makes it a lot easier to see how some of this, some of the bigger smart home tech products or like projects, right? Like can function, because nobody with an apartment in New York is going to get much out of like a remote lawnmower,
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of also part of it, is like showing that people that live in places like I do, live in rural areas, or, whether you live, and it applies because, oddly enough, rural areas and highly condensed, very metropolitan urban areas have similar problems. And a lot of it is, it's a connectivity is a lot of what comes down to, regardless of the internet status in a lot of these places. Like I hear all the time issues with Comcast and Spectrum and this and that, and, you know, things going in and out and taking other people's internet and all this stuff. And so in the rural areas is opposite. Like we just don't have many options for internet at all. So it's kind of taking how a lot of these smart devices and how these different technologies, whether they're highly connected or just things that kind of supposed to sit in the background, can still function regardless of where you live and how they can apply to your specific situation. Because we know all the things that the brands tell us and all the major publications and all those things. And a lot of those are filmed in, you know, set studios or, you know, spec houses and things like this. And so it's hard to picture that when you live in a one level ranch house in the middle of nowhere, Missouri or something like that. You know, why, like this is none of what you're showing applies to me. Like, why would I use that here? And so it's trying to find ways to relate it to, you know, more people, I guess, that typically don't get spoken to directly, or at least have experienced that kind of stuff. So that's my try anyhow. Well,
and that is a massive part of the U.S., even if you just want to focus on this country, or even just North America, right? Because you throw in most of Canada into that group, right? Like Canada is like such a rural country if you remove 2 cities, 3 cities. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's, to me, your videos feel very, and I mean this, I hope this comes off as the compliment that it is, very old school YouTube, very like 10, 15, maybe not 15, but 10 years ago YouTube of like, hey, like I'm someone who has tried this product. I have expertise in this field, and I'm going to use that to like tell you from my perspective what this is like, regardless of every other, you know, it doesn't matter if Google's launching some new Gemini feature. I'm focused on this product right now, and I don't need to try to be everything to everyone. I'm the thing that you're looking for right now. And I don't know, like I miss that era of YouTube, and I appreciate seeing someone, especially someone as talented as I think you are, Chris, like bringing that vibe back. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily a choice, I guess, that my videos appear that way. I mean, I'm both very lucky and unlucky in this situation, because I'm lucky because I've been in the industry and I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of great people, including yourself, and then people from different brands and look at my shoulder there. Different
That's what you get for filming outside. This is
nature's coming after me now. They're tired of my tech out here. But because I've made these relationships, all these different brands and different product categories, things like that across the years, and I've been lucky enough through different publications I've worked at to cover a wide range of things. I have that built in. So at least I have the connections. I'm able to get some products and things like that because I have those relationships. But I have zero idea of how to produce video, how to record, edit, none of like that has all been on the fly, learning as I go. You know, I've been lucky enough to know, you know, again, because I've been in the industry, I've met a few people that do YouTube. Right. You know, and I've been able to ask them for some advice and things like that. And I've, you know, get a range of advice. You kind of take different pieces of information from different people and, you know, find a ways to make it work for you. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do. You know, one of the best pieces I got was 90% is 100%. And from the standpoint of both editing and scripting and things like that. And so my videos, you know, I'm glad they're seen as old school YouTube and not just, God, he doesn't know what he's doing. Because a lot of times I go through it and I'm just like, I edit it to the point I'm like, it's good enough. Like, it's not gonna be flash. I'm never gonna be an MKBHD or any of those. I'm not trying to be, it wouldn't fit what I do. But I want to make sure that it at least looks, the message comes across properly and the product is displayed and showcased to the point it needs to be in that particular video.
I mean, I think the most important thing in any product review, video written, any podcast, anything, right, is to just clearly, you know, articulate your viewpoints, your criticism, your opinion. And that's, truly, you know, you can throw as many cool edits, like crazy shots into a video as you want. If the content, I hate that word, but if the raw, see, now I'm trying to speak here on content. Yeah. If the raw message is not good, it doesn't really matter. And I think, and that's not to say that I think your videos are bad. Obviously, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you're a young channel, right? Like it's you launched in February. I think you're doing for it being October, I think you're up to 30 something thousand subscribers, which I think is like fairly excellent for first, within the first 12 months. I don't exactly know the usual trend of subscribers, but I think that's pretty healthy.
Yeah, I don't know either. And that's the other part of it is, so I have no idea how I'm doing. Like, people
Sure.
say you're doing a great job. Like, I don't know.
I think
like,
so. You're certainly churning out videos in a good way. Like you are at it, there's
and that's
every
all
couple
I can
days.
do. And the only thing I can control is how much work I put into it. And so like, I'm doing my best. Like I just, last week I went from doing one video a week to 2 a week and not including any shorts around it. And then,
Sure.
Just last week, and I did that for 4 or 5 months. And last week I decided, like, I've got enough things to do. Let's see if we can do 3 a week. And so
Yeah.
this is my second week trying 3 a week. And I don't know. And it's, the whole thing's complete learning process. Like I don't know whether, technically if I'm doing good in the eyes of the YouTube world or any of that stuff. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just doing everything I can to keep going. But it's also one of those things like and you hear it from all kinds of YouTubers, whether it's a YouTuber or writer, podcaster, it's all repetition and continuing and being consistent with the work. And so I feel like if I stop or if I take a day off and, in terms of like uploading something, as a young channel, I'm still trying to build the consistency so that YouTube, the algorithm knows, hey, he's not going anywhere. He's going to keep producing. So we might as well start showing this stuff up. So that's, and it's a whole, we're fighting, whether it's, podcasting or publication or, YouTube videos, you're fighting against the algorithm and all sorts of other things. And, sometimes just because it's a great, wonderful video, perfect everything, doesn't mean it's going to do anything, because who knows if the algorithm's going to show it up or whatever. Who knows?
That's kind of what I was getting at is that you're 8 months into this, right? You're eight months along. The things that have time to develop your video production skills, perhaps, like I think they are perfectly, like they are at least at satisfactory, if not above, in my opinion. And I have a video production degree, so I'm allowed to say that.
That means something, then.
But you will learn that stuff. I've been using Premiere since 2012, right? And like I still learn new ways to use that application. Like that stuff comes along with just like practice. Like it's like the biggest thing you can get out of video editing tools or anything like that. You have the thing that is harder to come by, in my opinion, which is the ability to sell your ideas to an audience, to communicate to an audience in a way that is entertaining and educational.
Yeah, and that's funny, because that's kind of reminds me, like we were talking before this, we were talking about running and how neither of us were really ever runners, and then somehow we got into it, like really enjoyed running. And it's the same thing. Like I'd never wanted to be a runner, never thought I'd run anything more than the required mile for high school physical test or whatever. Outside that, I'm done. But and it's the same. I never want to be on camera at all, and I still don't. I still feel weird on camera. It feels awkward, even doing a video, even just doing a video call with a friend.
I'm not a video. I consume a lot of podcasts. I consume zero via video, and yet here we are recording a video podcast. Because I know that's where like an audience is. Like I know that is like one of the things people are looking for. So I totally agree with you.
And so it's taken time to get to that point, and a lot of the point I've gotten comfortable enough. I can't watch anything I record. I hate editing and listening to it. And I don't even listen to what I'm saying. I'm literally just listening to points within it to do any edits or whatever. Like if my wife wants to watch a video, kid's going to watch it, I go outside. Like I just can't do it. And so that's all just part of it. And then the other half that I'm dealing with is I'm starting to learn. And as far as like the constant production, trying to get things out and learning and editing, a lot of it'll come, as I just do it and get more comfortable. I'm like, okay, I've got this style of editing down. Okay, let's see if we can, what can we change? Let's do some more, maybe let's work on color grading. Let's start getting better at that and stuff, those kind of things. But it's also, I'm having to learn, like, I need to get better at saying no. Because between the brands that I've worked with for a long time and the ones that I know, there's, bazillions of unknown brands out there that I'm lucky enough, they're reaching out to me to test products, and I do say no to a fair number of them. But I'm kind of stuck in a spot, and I don't know what I'm doing here. in
Sure.
this YouTube journey or whatever you want to call it, because my thought is kind of going back to the publication world is you need to get it. You have to have authority in it before people will trust you, and before YouTube or Google, whatever, is going to bring you up in searches and stuff. And so
Right.
I'm working to, I don't actually want to be a product review channel, which is like largely what I am now. But I'm taking a lot of the products I have and testing them and doing reviews for products. And I do see a value in that, helping people, because these products out there and somebody's going to buy that. Or somebody's considering buying it, and I want to make sure that that they at least have an opportunity to have an opinion, maybe from a source that maybe relates closer to them on this product. And so that's kind of where I see that side of things going. But I'd like to get to the point where I don't have so many products in the backlog to test and review, and get to the point where I can start doing more conceptual videos and that kind of stuff. I don't know that I'll ever really be a phone reviewer. That's a very, very crowded space. But I do think it is something I do still want to work on, because I enjoy the space, even though, it's been said to death, phones are kind of boring these days. But that doesn't mean that it isn't something that people are still highly in need of and need some help in. And so those, I think, aren't going to be full review videos when it gets to that point. I'm working on doing something for the Z Fold 7 and the Pixel 10 XL Pro that I have, and do some of those, and more just kind of conceptual, like maybe more of a vlog style than a full-on review, and just kind of, editorial type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, half of creating anything online, I think, or finding success online, is identifying a niche that is, maybe not completely not, like, there are options in that niche, but it's undervalued or underserved. I do think that's like half of the half of finding success, and you have found your niche. And I think, again, 8 months, you are only going to continue to grow. So but if you're listening to this and you haven't checked out Chris's channel, go do that. We can get a little bit into stuff that you've actually been looking at, though, instead of just talking about the production, because you and I could talk about the production side for a couple hours probably. I do feel like people might
probably do need to set up a separate call just to get tips and information.
Happy to do that. Okay, minor technical glitch. Chris has moved. Chris has teleported to a different part of his yard. But
somewhere out there, there's a chicken coop back here somewhere.
Yeah, right. Yeah, perfect. Perfect background. Okay, Chris, let's get into some of the stuff that you've reviewed, you've tested on the channel. Pick a product, something that you really liked, and let's talk about it.
Wow. Okay. Well, since I've got so many different categories, it's a little tougher, but one of the things that the category of like robot lawnmowers has been really interesting to me. And there's a whole bunch of different types out there. And while it's not necessarily my favorite mower because of some of its issues I've run into, whatever, but it's most interesting. It's the Yarbo. It's big black, yellow tank tracks, beast of a machine. But the interesting thing about it is that's so cool, is what makes it different than others. It's made for large properties. Like, it is designed to do like 6 acres at a time. So this isn't like a small yard situation, but it's the core part of it itself. So it's got its core, which is the motor, most of the brains, the battery, and all that good stuff. And it weighs 100 pounds itself. And then you got different modules that go onto it. And those, right now they've got a lawnmower. Now they just got the Lawnmower Pro, which I recently covered. Then they've got a snowblower, a leaf blower. They've got a string trimmer attachment that's coming for it. They've got a whole bunch of stuff, and I saw some concept things. They've got an EFA, so it's a really exciting product itself. But it's such a cool device, and just like everything you can do, and the flexibility, and what I could like, especially in a rural setting. Like, it is, everybody I've shown that lives around me and I've talked to about it that has similar setups, like. I'm like, this is the one you got to get. It's good. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to have some frustrating moments in it. However, the amount of time it takes to mow 3, 4, 5 acres, depending on how much you're actually maintaining. I mean, you're talking hours of work there, and the equipment to mow that in a reasonable amount of time is expensive. And so even if you spend an hour a week messing with the mower because it's messed up, you're still saving so much more time.
I'm glad we're starting here, because I did watch your Yarbo review a couple days ago, and I actually don't even know if you know this about me, Chris, but I grew up in a pretty rural area in New York. I didn't grow up like in the city of Buffalo. I grew up like an hour north near Lake Ontario. And we didn't have like a ginormous plot of land, but we had 5 acres. and really only 2 of that was like developed. The rest of it was all pretty rough field, a lot of brush, a lot of cleared brush. And when I watched this, and to your point, like my dad, you know, like we had the lawnmower for that I, you know, since I was in middle school would mow the lawn when I lived with my parents. And then my dad had like a proper tractor, right? And the tractor was for the back.
Right.
And to your point, like I was really surprised that there is any kind of like robo-mower that can handle like that kind of terrain because you were mowing the exact kind of like, you know, rough and tumble, you know, wild field like grass that I know very well from growing up. That is not something, you know, like even like our riding lawnmower, like I would never take it back there beyond like if I was, you know, we had like a grass catcher that I would empty in the back, but otherwise like I didn't mow the grass with it because it was way too rough. And like the idea that now 20 years later there's a robo lawnmower that can kind of handle that is crazy.
Yeah, that's their new pro module. Like they redesigned that thing when I first, you know, they briefed me on and everything. I was like, they're making all these big claims. Like it'll mow wet, tall grass over, you know, 12 inches tall grass, you know, it'll mow pastures, it'll handle anything, you know, all this stuff they're talking about it. And I was like, I mean, you send it to me, I have the perfect place to test this thing, and I'll call you out if you're wrong. And it ran through. I mean, it's knocking it down. I mean, it's not, if I ran it across the you know, and I talk about in the video, and so like it's a section of the ground. We moved the place I'm in now. We moved here last year, and we're surrounded by fields. I have like 7 acres of my property, and I'm surrounded by fields that are planting. And of the 7 acres, I mean, because I'm lucky enough to have these mowers, like we maintain like 5 to 6 of it. Because I have the space and I have the devices to test it. So these mowers are all over I have a fleet of mowers that I'm testing across various parts of my yard. It's ridiculous. But so we turned this, when we moved in, the property lines changed, and this section of this field that used to be planted, you know, corn one year, beans the next year, we decided just to keep this little section and just turn it back to grass, because there's another building that made it easier for like turning in and out of this building and getting out of our shop and stuff like that. It'd just be better if it's grass. So we did that. But we didn't do anything to it. We just said, don't plant it. We had them disc it and then leave it. And since when it rained and everything started coming back, like it just got the nastiest, biggest, thick, like borderline tree type weeds in this thing. And so I'd run my tractor and brush hog through it like once or twice. But then when they said, Yarbo said this is coming, I was like, great, I'm going to let it go and we'll test this thing out. And so, I mean, the first time I sent it in, I mean, there was grass and weeds that were 6-7 foot tall. Like it was ridiculously overgrown. And I sent it in, and it knocked it down. I mean, it ran over this stuff and knocked it down. Crazy. And it wouldn't be a pretty one, but I let it run through, because a lot of mowers do this, but one that Yarbo has what they call their target height. So its max mowing height is 4 inches. But if you've got, you know, if you want to get to 3-inch tall grass and you've got 5, it'll start at a 4 and it'll make slow passes and slowly cut it down to not damage the grass. And so, over time, it would eventually got it to the point where it looked nice, but I ran through 3 or 4 times and it was done. I was like, okay, it's impressive enough of a test. And so I brush hog the rest. I mean, it's a large patch. We're talking like 1.5 acre, 2 acre spot anyway. So it's crazy that how far they've come in robot mowers. Like the first one I tested was a Husqvarna probably 3 or 4 years ago. And it was right at the edge when like borderless wire-free mowers were coming in, but it required a boundary wire. And even at that point, like I could see how beneficial it was. I mean, my other house, I live in a country too, but it wasn't as much of a yard that we maintained. And it was, you know, it was the essentially the dumb vacuum. It would just run into a wire or a wall and then turn around and go some random direction. Right. And now with RTK and now we're getting LiDAR and different AI cameras, like they're managing their own paths. Like I've got the Eufy mower. I tested their E15 mower. It's boundary free, no RTK, no nothing. You literally just hit map and it drives and maps itself and does the whole thing on its own, which is nice for proper lawns, I guess we'll say. Lawns with, defined boundaries. You got fences or sidewalks or, well lawned, and it knows. But, if you've got a larger space, I tried it in more of an open area, and it's not made for large lawns, but just to see what it would do. And it's not good. So, but the fact that if you have it and it's set up in a location it's designed for, it's so much easier. You don't have literally put it out there, plug it in, hit go, and it does it all for you. It's super crazy the way things have come to.
It still feels like a fresh product category, right? Like I really, you know, it's not like RoboVax where like, you know, TV shows were making jokes about Roombas 15, 20 years ago, it feels like, right? Like that's like such an established, it feels like, and it's weird because of how much more machinery is involved, and how I think inarguably they are, at least in theory, more dangerous because there's a spinning blade. Sure. But like they've come along so much faster, you know, catching up to the same level of, and maybe that's just RoboVax paving the way, right? Like the technology's already there. Yeah. As you say, LiDAR, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting. We got companies that have these expertise in like robot vacuums, things like that. And so, I mean, lawnmowers are knocking stuff down, vacuums are picking it up, and they're just doing it in different environments. And so I think it's really interesting to see a lot of these companies that have years of development in navigation across, you know, inside of homes and things like that, and really fine tune it. If they can do a good enough a job to like, now I haven't found a vacuum company that's perfect to not run it over a cord yet, but if they can avoid cords and see stuff like that and implement that into a yard, and like if it can avoid, you know, a ball sitting in the yard or something like that, like that's all it really needs to do. And if that's the biggest issue with robot mowers, is just the navigation and ability to avoid things and get out of the way. That's the biggest issue with it. As long as it can mow, most people don't care if it's mowing perfect straight lines and putting lines in the grass and doing patterns or whatnot. Like just save me some time, and even if it's not an effort thing, like it's not that I mind doing it. It's like it's hard. I just have so much things going on. I just need to take that off my plate. But the other half of it is that I don't think is talked about enough with the robot lawnmowers is if you're using it frequently, it actually makes your lawn healthier, because most people either don't mow it often enough, and so they mow like once a week, and they're cutting, you know, 3 or 4 inches off of it, which is damages the grass, mats it down, and causes issues. And so with lawnmowers, when you run them,
me. Hi, I'm the problem there.
I was that way too. That was me. Like I didn't have time to mow more than once a week, and honestly, I didn't care. Like I don't need a lush carpet of grass. I don't care. I just need something that doesn't hurt if I walk on it. Otherwise, I don't care. Yeah. And keep the, you know, tall grass means more, especially when you live in the country, you got critters and varmints and gets in there, and the shorter the grass, the less that's there. So, but like those little bitty clippings of grass that you're cutting with the robot lawnmowers is feeding your grass and helping your grass grow better and your lawn be healthier. And so like, I think it's all that stuff kind of comes together that, and like you said, like robot lawnmowers are new, kind of a new category. While it's been around for a while, it's finally sort of reached a point where there's more options, they're easier to use, and it is becoming more affordable. Like you can get a good robot vacuum if you've got a small lawn for around $1,000. And a push mower is less, but you have to do it. You got to maintain it. And I hate small engines. I reached the point in my life where I don't want to deal with a lawnmower engine. I don't deal with a weed eater. I'm done with it. And I've gone the same way with lawn equipment. Like I've started doing a lot of work with battery powered like chainsaws, leaf blowers, push lawnmowers, all that stuff. I mean, we don't use corded drills anymore. Like very few instances require a corded drill. And so why would you want to mess with having to deal with keeping your, like, chainsaws are the worst. Like I hate, I mean, I cut firewood and, you know, different things like that. And it's the worst thing. And, you know, and depending on how much you're cutting, you know, there's going to be a trade-off. You know, if you're going out and you're logging down trees for 24 hours, you're going to cut all day. You're not going to get that done with the electric chainsaw unless you got like 4 batteries. So there's going to be limitations to all of it. But just the ease and convenience of it, like you can just pick it up, and as long as your battery's charged, you know it's going to work. Like you don't have to mess with it. You don't have to worry about it not starting. And so that whole thing, and that kind of goes together as like just expanding all the technology we have inside and bringing it outside with battery-powered devices that are smart and can automatically adjust to your needs and things like that. It expands the access to do things, not only do things yourself, but make the things you already do, make them easier. And that's kind of, and I think that's so much of that's out there that a lot of the people who could really benefit from those that live in, you know, don't live in urban atmospheres where they're not going to need that kind of equipment. They don't know about it, or they only see the stuff that's at Walmart, or they see it on the shelf at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever. And they're like, there's no way that's any good. Like that can't do what I need it to do. And so I'm trying to leverage the experience I have in the old school ways and trying to apply it to the information I have from the newer devices and kind of find those things and trying to get that out there. Cause I think that's something that like battery powered equipment is finally starting to reach a point where it's viable in more than just, you know, a simple application like a drill.
Yeah. I feel like I am one of the last people on my block to have a gas powered lawnmower at this point. Like,
You're
true,
that guy.
and
You're the
it's
reason
not that old
everybody's
of a
complaining.
lawnmower. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, every I know this because every other lawnmower on the block is so much quieter than mine.
Yeah,
but it's one of those, you know, my it was a moving in gift from my dad, the lawnmower I have when we bought the house in 2022, and I love the thing, but I do agree with you that it is more maintenance than, say, like the battery powered like weed whacker that I have, right? Where it's like, okay, well, the maintenance on that is like respooling the string if it needs it, and otherwise, you know, charging the battery and you know, on even just on the lawnmower, it's like a pain in the ass to do oil changes. It's a pain in the ass to do. It's my biggest issue is just I've the worst like procrastination at the end of the season where I'm like, I'm going to drain it of gas. Don't worry. I'm going to do it. And then like January rolls around and it's 20 degrees out and I'm like, I don't remember if I did. I don't remember. I haven't f***ed anything yet, but it's coming.
I got so bad about that because I still have a lawnmower. This is the first year I didn't even start it. Like I didn't even have to start my lawnmower this year. And I kept my 5 to 6 acres yard maintained because I'm lucky enough to do what I do.
That's
but
perfect.
I've got like even with that lawnmower, and I still got a gas powered chainsaw and but I got a couple of generators, gas powered generators, and those things like you know, remembering to go and start those every few months so they don't get bad, and the fuel in those. I've gotten so bad about draining the fuel, and those like that in my head, I'm like, I don't actually want to drain it because I need it to have fuel when the emergency hits, and I want to deal with trying to get gas in it. I've been lucky enough to get by with just using fuel treatment and then running it enough to put fresh gas in it every so often. But again,
agreed.
That's all maintenance stuff that I don't want to have to do. And
you don't have to think about. I don't want to think about because I have, and I think off mic, you and I briefly mentioned the blizzard of 2022 to you, but like the gas power generator that we have like saved my ass during that thing, right? It was bad. And we didn't have power for 3 days. We didn't have heat. And without that generator, like I don't know what we would have done because I couldn't get out.
And that sort of stuff is starting to move to the ability to be battery powered. Like I've got I mean, I'm running my laptop. I'm keeping it powered up with an Anchor battery power station. Like just a little It's the C1000 I think. So it's 1,000-watt power station. It's plenty to run the battery. Like it allows, aside from just the simplicity, like it allows you to do things that you need power for where places you don't have power, but. Like I've got a couple in my house that I keep stashed around for, you know, emergencies or just little things. Like I want to power, like I'm going to play games with my kids. I'm going to plug some stuff up so we can set that in the center of the room and all have stuff plugged into it. But like emergencies and stuff like that, like the first video I did on my channel was on EcoFlow's home backup battery system. And it's a smart control panel. You got batteries plugged into it. It automatically recharges the batteries. Like it keeps them at around 80%, but you can have it connected to their app and then it knows if weather is coming and you can have a storm guard on. And if bad weather is coming, it'll automatically charge your batteries up so that it's ready. And then it automatically switches over. It's got a switch over. So you're not going to re-energize this down system, which can cause issues down the line for emergency workers down the line. So it takes care of all of that for you. And so it like all that stuff. And then of course you can hook it up to solar. You can get solar so you can keep it charged. And if you have that and you have enough solar, you can run parts of your home all the time off your batteries. Like all that kind of stuff is starting to come together and finally getting to the point where it's a feasible option. And that's also the pitch behind doing like the battery backup system for your home or things like that is because you don't have to maintain the generator. You don't have to make sure it's fueled and the oil is good. You don't have to
rush out and get gas, which I've had to do before a storm. It's like, I don't remember. I think I got back from, I think it was like CES one year. And I was like, we got back and it was like the next day we were going to get like a big snowstorm. And so the first thing I did when I got home was throw the gas cans in the truck and drive over to my gas station. And do you know what everybody else was doing?
Getting gas.
That they were getting gas. Like everybody at the pump was filling gas tanks. And I don't think I ended up needing the generator, but it was like one of those things where it's like, I don't even have time to relax, even though I've been on a plane for 5 hours flying back from Nevada. Like I have to go like right now do this because it's 7:30 at night and the wind's already picking up and I don't want to like risk it. And so, I love the idea of
and it was literally this past CES. I was in Vegas for CES and we had a big ice storm come through. Yeah. And while I was here, my wife texted me, she goes, I'm so glad we have this battery backup system because power's out, and we've got, thank God we have it, because now we have power. Because like it's one of those things, especially like if I'm not around, like
Exactly.
my wife had to go out there or a neighbor or somebody come by to go over and hook up a generator. If you have a generator, get it out, get it set up for you, help you out, that kind of stuff. Yep. And it's all that stuff when you're able to take those things off your plate. It's, I've had some people be like, that's just lazy. Like, why wouldn't you just go mow it yourself? But the amount of time, the freedom you get by not having to mow your lawn. Nobody says you can't go mow it. If you feel like mowing it this week, go mow your yard. Like, there are times I like to sit on the mower and it's just kind of check out and just listen to a podcast and cut the grass.
That was my favorite chore as a kid, genuinely. Because by the time I started doing it, like I was 11 and like I had just gotten an iPod, right? Yeah. And so like because of my age, it was like, and I think the first year my dad was like, I don't want you wearing headphones out there. But like by the time I was 12, like he was like, yeah, you get it. Go for it. Yeah. Go do whatever. And like, as I got into like, the earlier age of like podcasts and stuff like that, like it was great to just, it's like, sure, it's something I have to go do, but as a kid, it was like an hour and a half of just being like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go, and I had a riding lawnmower at that time, so it was like, just go sit on a riding lawnmower for an hour and a half and listen to a podcast or two, and it's a little more work now. It's 45 minutes of a push mower, but it's still not bad. It's not my least favorite chore. It's far from my least favorite chore.
I enjoy doing it like the first cut of the spring and like the last cut of the year. About the only times I enjoy. Like one time, like I'm good. I don't need it anymore. I've done it enough years of my life. I'm good with it. But like I still have to get on the tractor. And there's still places that I still brush hog that I know either the mower won't reach to, or I just don't want to try and run it through there and whatever. But and I still get on the tractor, throw on the headphones, throw on a podcast, and I go mow for a while and just check out. And so that's all still there. But the amount of time you get back and the things you can do outside of it, whether it's you want to go camping, but I can't because I need to sit here and mow for 5 hours this weekend before I can go do anything. Or my kids got games and I can't go to those because we got property to maintain. Things like that. Like being able to lighten that stuff up with a simple thing as a mower. It's nice to see the technology is improving that, it's not such a far out thing to get a robot lawnmower and be like, wow, like, look what you do, or you're so lazy, because they're affordable. Ish, they're getting there. But if you take the amount of time, the gas, the maintenance, the time you have to put into it, like they kind of pay themselves off relatively quickly.
Yeah, the only thing stopping me, and this is 100% true, is as you said, they're still kind of like RoboVacs, right? They're in the way that they are like, they look for obstacles, but they will occasionally, in the way that like a RoboVac might not see a cable, like go right over it. And my the side of my property that is shared with my neighbor's driveway, that neighbor has a very cute 5-year-old boy who loves to run around outside. And I just, it's one of those things where it's like, maybe when their kids are older, like it's something I can get, but and maybe, our backyard's fenced. I could probably put it in the backyard, but there's no way I wouldn't even feel good about how, like, just releasing a robo lawnmower out there as the kid might be in the drive. Because the amount of times I've mowed the lawn while the kids, and I often will avoid going over to like the little, that section, that little side of the house right next to their driveway. It's just something that, like, every time I look at a robo lawnmower, I'm like, I would love this. I'm probably gonna have to wait at least like 5 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially taking a push lawnmower, they're aside from just loud and scare the kid. They're violent machines. Like, they're throwing stuff out. They catch a rock, that thing's gone. I mean, the upside of the robot lawnmowers is one, like most of them, there is, I don't know, 6 inches, 3 inches on either side of the blade itself. Yes. Where it's not mowing. They've got bumpers. Like I've had times in like my animals have gotten so used to these things in the yard. Like, I think I've put in some of the videos, like the ducks now follow the mower around. We got some ducks and they'll follow the mower around, like right up against it, because as it mows, like bugs pop up and they go eat the bugs. Like and they're super quiet. So they're not scaring the ducks. They follow them around, and they've gotten to the point they're so unbothered by it. Like, the mower will go to turn and they'll just stay in front of it. The mower has to like back out and figure out how to get around because the ducks won't get out of its dang way. But it'll mow, like a cat will be laying in the yard and it'll see the cat and then go up and go around it and keep going. And so some are definitely better than others. The Ecovacs Goat A3000 I finished reviewing is fantastic as far as like recognition of things and stuff like that. Like, I was super impressed how well that one does with object recognition on the yard. But
It's getting there. It is more of it's less of like a true safety thing as much as it's they're not, I don't think they're mainstream enough yet for me to put it out there and have them know of like, oh, this has a bunch of safety features built in. You don't have to worry. It's more of the like perception of it where I'm putting this robot with blades out and like, though it may have a bunch of safety features, do you as a parent of a young child know that? Like, I don't expect you to.
The other half of it is like a running lawnmower, like a normal lawnmower, a kid's probably gonna stay away from it because it's big, loud, and scary. This little thing looks like a toy, and if they have a robot vacuum and they mess with robot vacuums, they're like, oh, it's another thing, and they're gonna play with it.
Trucks. I don't want to dox my neighbor's kid too much, but he loves trucks and machinery, and he's got this little like one of those little like RC like Jeep things, you know, not like a
Power wheels.
Yeah, exactly. And these things don't not look like that. And so I don't, you know, it's one of those things. And it's someday I can see it. I think I need it to become like a little more mainstream, maybe just not the first person on the block with it, but let another neighbor get it and then let them train the kid on it. And then you go get yours. Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, cause I was looking through your YouTube video collection and I was like, all right, let me pick another gadget to talk about from your recent reviews. My least favorite, I said mowing the lawn, one of my favorite chores. The home improvement thing I have done in my life that I hate more than anything, Chris, is painting. I hate painting more than anything. Go look at my kitchen cabinets, which have been unfinished since we moved in 3.5 years ago.
My brother literally, so you know they got the robot window cleaners.
Yes.
So my brother sent me a video.
I also hate doing that.
Yeah, I know. I'm still waiting for somebody to send me those to test. But he sent me a video, and it's basically that, but it's a wall painter. And it sticks to the wall and paints your wall. And I was like, I tried out. I don't need, if you can get 90% of it done, so I don't have to do it. Great. We finished our basement, and I bought a professional style sprayer and sprayed the whole thing. I was like, I ain't paint nothing. I'm not using a brush. Forget that.
That's if you can do it, if you're not painting around furniture or anything like that, I agree with you. I think that's the fastest right way to do it. You know, when we bought the house, we painted most, because it's a Cape Cod. We painted most of the first floor in the like 2.5 weeks in between closing and when we moved out of the apartment into the house. And the second we were in the house, it was like it slowed down so rapidly because now you're living there, you're working around things, and it's just a pain. So and this is not a robo painter, this is not that, but the Philips Hue wall washer caught my eye because this is a similar. It's not obviously not painting your wall,
right. Yeah.
But it's changing the appearance of your wall. It's a Philips Hue light, and it's designed to adjust the look of the wall. So tell me a little bit about this, just because I thought that was I had not heard of this product before your YouTube video, and I am fascinated a little bit by the idea of like, just light it up instead of painting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a cool idea. You know, you can really do this with any smart light. Like, it's not actually because of its device specifically, but it's because they built this device really well, and it's from the hardware perspective, it's really cool. I mean, if you haven't seen it, it's maybe 6 inches tall. It's kind of a cylinder type thing. It's got an angular front on it and lenses on the front. And so you got 3 individual lenses and 3 individual LED sections within each one. And it's designed to just cast a wide spray of light. And you can do anything. You can go from your basic, a whole range of whites and warm to cool whites, and then you got your colors, and you can control each section individually. But yeah, I mean, the whole idea is just you can put it behind on the table, on the floor, behind something. You can put it completely out of the way and just have it kind of go across the wall, whether it's going from an angle or straight on, because it's got a short throw on it, so you can be. I think I did most of my tests anywhere from, I did it at 1 foot and I did it 2 feet away from the wall. The further away, obviously, you're going to get less saturation. It's going to lose a lot of the light color and things like that. But it's a really interesting way to kind of change the feel of your room, just using light from a small device that the whole thing is just, it's a wide spread of light. And it does a good job of it. Like I also reviewed the Govee Torshare floor lamp, but it's basically the wall washer on steroids on a pole. So, I mean, it's got the 3 individual lenses. It's kind of a bean shape that kind of arches across the top. But it does the same idea, and you could set that you can angle that across, and it's a really interesting way to change the look of a room. Like, even if you're going to keep the rest of the lights in your area, normal whites colors, you can really change the feel of a room just by shooting the light across it, directionally on something that's tuned to spread light in a large area. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, I guess I hadn't. It's just taking lights and like diffusing them in a very specific way, and it's not something that, as you said, the Govee lamp can kind of tackle it the same way. But did you feel like the effect was like worth like the setup and or was it kind of just like, oh, it is at the end of the day just kind of a lamp shining, projecting a specific light in this way onto the wall? That was kind of what I was curious about.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, it does a great job at what it's supposed to do. It does the job it's designed to do, and it does a good job of it. The catch I have with it, though, is it's $220. Like, it's not inexpensive.
The Hue stuff in general is...
Oh, it is.
I've never bought into it because of the price.
I started... My first smart home device was... I think it was the Nest, like, second gen. It started with the thermostat, and then I got used... like second gen Philips Hue hub and a few bulbs, and just slowly got a few bulbs here and there. And this is, this was 10 years ago or something like that. But I still use that same hub. I still use those same bulbs. And the one thing that I got to give Hue credit for is their products work really well. They stay connected. They're responsive. They do their stuff. They may not have all the bells and whistles that some others have and some of the, crazy form factors, but they work well. So you're paying for something that works really well and expensive, and the legacy behind the brand. But I mean, it's really tough to say at $220, yeah, it's worth it, because really, I mean, you just get one. You're not getting a huge effect out of it. You kind of need a couple of them, really, if you're really trying to get the full effect and really paint your walls with it. But I mean, you can do similar ideas depending on where you're trying to put the light, what walls you're trying to do with it. You can do that with the light strip, like get an RGB IC so you have individually controllable sections of a light strip, and you can do a similar effect with those. Something's really going to come across like, the similar thing with some of those LED floor lamps. You can do those, put those in a corner, and those will blast light outward as well.
Give you the same effect.
It's hard to say. I mean, yeah, it's worth it if that's something you're trying to do. Whether the specific product itself is the one you should buy, it's yes. If you have the money and you're in the Philips Hue ecosystem, yeah. But at $220, it's tough to say this is the one you should definitely get, because it's so much better than anything else does.
Yeah. But maybe not quite up to par with painting the walls. I got to keep waiting for painting for
actual
a
paint.
Robo-painter.
Yeah. Now the next thing I want to see is a paint that does a better job of dispersing the light. So you can hit the light in a certain spot and it'll help push it along. Now that's what I want. Give me a reflective high light reflective spread or something like that.
Smart lighting feels like one of those product categories where every time I think they have run out of new ideas, like new ways to make a lamp or a light bulb specifically. They went like Hue or Govee, any of these like, companies,
Govee
will come up with something new, and I'm like,
they just did it again, and they did it again. Like I said this in my video. I just finished covering Govee's Prism permanent outdoor lights. You put on the underside of your lights, and they shine across your height. They're one of the first ones I think that did that. One of the first I definitely had seen, and a lot of companies do it now. And they've always been, a circle or a puck, and it's got your lights in it and a filter, and it sprays it out and does its thing. And there's so many different versions of it. And I was thinking before I saw this product, the new Prism version, how does this category expand? And Govee said, well, this is how. And they're going to basically do a wall washer or their torchère lamp and stick it on a string and put it on the outside of your lights. Cause it's an oval shape, and it's got 3 lenses in it and 3 individual LED diode sections in it. And it does the same idea. And it gives you 3D effects across your lights or across your walls if you want to, you change and set up different scenes and all that stuff. Like it's crazy, the form factor. I agree. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what's the next form factor? What's else you can do with an LED light? Because you can find it in almost any shape you want. And I was impressed to see that new form factor come out in that sort of a style. Now it's an expensive product. It's super cool, and it's a very good, and I really like it. And it's easily the one I would recommend the most. but it's also the shortest length is like 100 foot and it's like $580. So it's also super expensive. So
Man.
it's not so good that I would say don't buy any of the others. But if you want the best, it's hard to argue with that one.
It's one of those things where it's like, does it pay for itself not having to put up like Christmas lights every year, and then you have like you just use those? And
that depends on how big you are into Christmas and how much.
I suppose that's true. Because if you're going crazy, they're not going to cut it. They're not going to cut it. If you're just looking for a little,
a little bit, Like for me, like I like using them because especially the prism one, because you can change, have one light do multiple colors. Like Sundays, I got to put some red and yellow up. And
all right.
But it's cool. So I mean, you can use them, whether it's holiday stuff and things like that. I definitely like the permanent outdoor lights, and they're far less expensive. Gobi's got a line, I think it starts around $125 for a 75-foot strand. Nanoleafs, I use theirs. Theirs are really good too. They got a cool like cover that goes over the your cords in between each light, so it kind of cleans up the installation. Eufy's got a set I'm in the process of testing, but they're really cool because aside from the Christmas lights, if you don't want to put, whether you're going to hang the old, string light style, which you can get smart ones of those too, or you're going to have the ground lamps that shine up at your house. If you just want to add some light to your house, whether it's a security or just kind of light up the area where you're out there, they're a great way to do that. Aside from doing all the crazy colors and everything, you can always just make them a warm white if you want to. So they're nice for that stuff too. And for something like that, if you don't want to go all out, if you just want to try it out first, I definitely recommend checking out, like get an entry level set and put them in there. And they're really nice to have, and they're super easy to use. And once you install them, like they're one and done. They're really handy. The smart parts are great, but most of them have a physical button. You can turn them off and on if you don't want to mess with smart. You can kind of get your options with it.
That's that's such an interesting point. Maybe about smart home tech in general is that like I do think my favorite smart home tech products are the ones that also can function a little dumbly. Yeah. Is that a word? Yeah. I don't know. With something that can function with like. Okay, yes, you can use your phone, you can use an app, you can use a partner app like Google Home, all this stuff, right? Whatever. Also, there is a switch right here. You can push this button, and if you want to do that, and that's what I like. My home is not loaded with smart home gadgets, primarily because my fiance is not like super enthusiastic about it. So like we have, like I think the thing we have the most of are like smart bulbs that are still often turned on or off manually with the light switch on the lamp or whatever, just because that's the easy way. But then that allows us to have a lamp in our bedroom, for example, that like turns on at sunset time roughly or whatever, or turns off at a specific time, things like that when we're on vacation or we're not. We literally were just out of town over the past weekend for a wedding, and like I love the ability to have lamps on vacation mode where they're just turning on and off randomly just to have some added
sense of somebody there.
Sense of someone in the house or something like that,
for sure.
I don't know, like it's one of those things where I do as much as I and especially when we're talking about more niche things like this, I really like seeing how much smart home tech that isn't just cameras or lamps or something like that, but simultaneously always looking for like, yes, there is a push the button, you're done.
It's like about like smart outlets, because they'll have a button on them. So even if the voice control or whatever, like I got a lamp in my living room. It's a cool lamp, but it's not smart, and I don't put a smart bulb in it because it's kind of it's an old school style lamp, and I got an LED kind of Edison style bulb in it, so it kind of looks neat and everything. But I want to be able to have it turn it off and on, have it turn on and off certain times. So I just plug it into a smart outlet, and when I want it on, if I don't want to mess with using a smart command or getting my phone,
just reach over,
just push the button and it's on. So that's really nice too. But it goes into like it's the. I think it's the other part of like kind of what I'm doing with my channel is like these, got all these smart devices out there. And again, I think so many are out there. The most popular things that everybody knows about is your light bulbs, probably plugs, doorbells, and vacuums are kind of the most commonly well-known things that people know about.
It's the stuff that the biggest players have kind of, maybe not the Robovacs, but the, security cameras, Google, Amazon.
Cameras,
These companies are in there on that, right? Like smart speakers, Apple, Google, Amazon. Like, I think the stuff that the biggest players are in is the stuff that most people remember or most people pay attention to.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff kind of flies under the radar because you probably don't know Yarbo. You probably don't know, maybe Ecovacs if you're really paying attention to the robot vacuum, but like maybe you don't know Nanoleaf. You probably don't know Govee, but you might know Hue or something like that. So it's just really hit or miss.
Yeah. And the funny thing is like when you look at like legacy brands, so you got like GE, like they've been making light bulbs forever. They make smart bulbs. They did have a weird long name, and it was C of E by GE or something weird name for a while. Now it's Sync. And they make good products, but the odd thing to me is that they're smart products. And they're good bulbs. I got a smart GE Sync smart bulb in my main like walk-in entryway, and it's got a little wireless switch to it from GE. It all works well, but I don't think they're really well known in the smart space, regardless of the legacy of the brand that they have. Like if you go and ask somebody about a smart bulb, you ask them if you heard of Philips Hue or GE Sync, they're like, they maybe just because they know GE, but if you said a Sync bulb, they're not going to recognize what that is, but they're going to know what a Hue bulb is. Yeah. I think that's really interesting that how legacy brands are struggling to kind of convert and gain the mind share that some of these other brands already have.
Is it maybe, and maybe this is reductive, maybe this isn't thinking about the modern age, but I do wonder, and I say this as someone who the last 2 or 3 times I've bought smart bulbs, I didn't buy it online. I went to Home Depot. Is it as simple as getting into places like Home Depot and Lowe's and these big home improvement stores, and like that's where once you're in there, you can kind of start to make a name for yourself of like the average homeowner buying something and not just someone who's reading a gadget blog. Yeah,
I think there's a weird dynamic, and this is and maybe there's a Midwestern or North American thing, I don't know, but there's a weird thing there, I think, though, because so if you know Philips Hue, you know the brand or whatever, right? You know these brands, but there's been so many since smart lights kind of started becoming popular, and even if you just say in the last 5 years, there's so many just random cheap brands that, whether it's Home Depot, Walmart, Lowe's, whoever, is like, we need to get some smart devices in, and they don't want to bring in a big name brand because they don't know if it's going to work, and just the cost of doing that. So they get this cheaper brand, and the customers that do buy it, they're not a great product. They don't have a great experience. Maybe the app is bad or poor connectivity, and it kind of sours people on that. And so when you go in there, even if it's a brand like Govee or Nanoleaf, who's been around and has been doing smart devices for a long time and have great products, the general consumer may not know about that. And so they're going to see it and be like, oh, it's just, I remember the last time they had this, Smarty Light, whatever brand it is. And they're like, it was terrible. And so I think that's a problem that I think most like the average consumer, I think there's so many people know what a smart light is.
Yeah. Like there's a hump to get over, I think.
Right. And so it's just, it's trying to accept, like taking that leap of faith to a product that you're not necessarily 100% familiar with. You may not know the brand. And if you're in the store, like you're like, well, I'm not going to get it. So do you get out your phone and Google it? Do you care that much to do it? So I think it's a weird place, and it's a similar thing. Like it's just a weird plane. I think it's with all brands, but especially when you're buying something like my light, I need my light to turn on. It needs to work when I do it. I can just put a normal bulb in it and flip the switch and it's going to do the thing. Yep. I think
that's the biggest thing facing smart.
Right. I like the convenience of what this can do and the things I could do with it. But if it doesn't do those things, like it's just going to make you mad. You're going to throw it in the trash, and it can ruin an entire category for somebody if they have a bad experience with something they're unfamiliar with the first time. And I think that's what's tough about brand recognition for smart devices in a brick and mortar type store. Yeah. Especially if it's in a Home Depot, because not everybody, I don't want to generalize completely, but if you go to Best Buy and you can have that same issue there, you would assume the person at Best Buy is familiar with this brand and can talk to you about this brand relatively intelligently. That may not happen at a hardware store about a smart device. And unless if it is a big name brand, that brand has likely done some training with those people to kind of help educate to an extent. Whether that training makes its way down the line or not, who knows? But that's kind of something that is there or should be there if it's not. So I think it's also kind of another hurdle that smart devices has in the general, especially in the retail space. Yeah. Well, and to bring this full circle, maybe to bring this home, I think that's where your channel comes in so handy, because you are trying these products out. And so
if someone is standing in Home Depot and they Google a specific product, like you might be the person who has reviewed it, and you might be able to speak to their experience and tell them whether or not, you know, even while they're standing in the aisle in Home Depot, are you going to have a good time with this Govee light, this you know, Nanoleaf, and I don't know if Nanoleaf's in Home Depot, but this Nanoleaf thing, like anything like that, right? Like it's important in helping people make good buying decisions in a way that I think this is such a relatively young, you know, smart home is a pretty young product category that really kicked off, I feel like, in like the early 2010s in style. And by the time you hit the mid 2010s and you have like smart speakers really catching on, I think that's really so we're about 10 years. And like, that's not a lot of time for us to now have suddenly like everything of like, robo vacuums, robo lawnmowers, smart lights, like literally a billion smart lamps, you know, drones and battery packs and generators, as we were talking about, and on and on and on. And it can be overwhelming. And I think that like a lot of this stuff is cool and can save people time or can help with accessibility, right? Like a robo lawnmower might be perfect for someone who is, you know, in their 70s or 80s and can't mow the lawn anymore, something like that. It's just a matter of like educating people. And I don't think these companies are great at educating people, which is where someone like you comes in.
Right. And I think that's kind of their I mean, it's hard because something like this, I mean, if you obviously can't show and tell a lot of this. I mean, Yarbo does. That's all they do is robot mowers, and they do tours and they go around to different cities and do live demos of things.
Right.
But that's, you know, again, they're not coming to small town Kansas to do that. And so that's a thing. And so that's kind of their only option is to get it in the hands of, you know, reviewers and people who do videos, things like that, to try and do that. Like it's the same way. It goes back to that barrier of entry, especially it's something that it has to serve this purpose. Like I need it to do this thing for me. That's why I'm looking at it. It's a lot of money. And if it doesn't do it, it's a waste of money, time, and it makes my life more difficult instead of easier. And so it's that weird thing about it. But I think, you know, I mentioned, you recently had a conversation with Daniel Bader about smart home and Google Assistant. You'd mentioned like Gemini and things like that. And so I think going into that, you guys, I finished your podcast just a couple of days ago. And so it's still kind of in my brain. And you guys had talked about you know, I think you had the stance of it needs to succeed right out of the gate with the new Gemini powered speaker. And Daniel was kind of more like, I don't think it has to. And I lean more towards, I think it needs to. And this goes back to, because smart home is starting to fall off because the controls that we've been promised to have to make those devices easier to use, instead of always have to get on an app to do it or set a schedule and automate it, just asking it to come on. That speaker has to do its job. And Google Assistant in its current form is garbage, and it has been for a while. I mean, I've written too many articles about it.
You have. I've read them. I've edited some of them.
You've edited some of them. It's gotten so bad that like like you, I still have some Google speakers on my house, partially because I'm in this space and reviewing them, but mainly I use them just for either watching a video on or their photo frame, which is more of a Google Photos feature. It just happens to be the delivery mechanism.
Exactly.
But like, you can't even asking for a song or turn a light on. You know, you could be as simple as turn the light on, and it's got one light connected to it, and be like, I don't know how to do that. And so that either makes it seem like the smart device you have, the light is bad, or the speaker's bad, or just ruins the whole thing. And so like, if it doesn't nail it out of the gate, it ruins that experience. And so, if you're going back to an accessibility side of things, even just removing the convenience factor from an accessibility standpoint, somebody who needs to be able to say, hey, can you turn on this light? Or, hey, what is the temperature today? Do I need to wear my jacket? Like little things like that for people that really need the help to do something. If your helper, your assistant can't do the simple task, like why have it? Like what's the point of it? And it ruins the entire experience, and it cuts the entire industry down. It's by no means perfect at all, but it needs to be able to do its job to help make these smart devices that people are entrusting for various reasons to function the way that they need to do it.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better, Chris. I think you might have made a better argument towards Daniel than I did on that episode. So thank you.
I spend more time thinking about this than you. It's my requirement.
You live and breathe this stuff, and truly, and that's why people should go check out the channel, Gadgets and Gravel. Gadgets and Gravel. Was worried I mixed up the G's. We're good. We're good.
Honestly, it took me my first month. I got it wrong. My wife came up with the name, and I was like, "That's a great name," and I got it mixed up. So yeah.
But it rolls off the tongue better than Gravel and Gadgets. Gadgets and Gravel. I like it.
Yeah.
Link down below. You can find it in the show notes. Chris, thank you for coming on. We can wrap here, and then maybe like 2 minutes you and I can indulge in football talk. But I just genuinely might just be for us. Everybody might be turning off the video or the podcast right now, and I don't blame them. So go follow Chris. Thank you for watching and listening. I don't know who's next week. Much like last week, I didn't know who's next week. I have some ideas. I have a couple people that I need to reach out to, but it is Thursday. I've been dragging my feet a little bit. So, but much like Chris, we are determined not to miss a week here until maybe the holidays, because you gotta be consistent. Podcasting, that's like the number one rule. You gotta be consistent. But Chris, always good chatting, and we will have you back on to talk some other time, probably anytime next year about whatever, because with CES a couple months away, who knows what's gonna find its way into
it's gonna be crazy
into your review docket.
I'm looking forward next year. One of the things I'm most looking forward to next year is a robot lawnmower. I saw it at IFA and they said it is coming, but it's a robot lawnmower with an arm.
Oh, okay. I saw like at CES a similar, like they had the RoboVac with the arm, but they've brought it onto
this is a lawnmower with an arm.
Lawnmower with the arm
that is designed. It'll pick up like limbs and sticks and move them out of the way. And like one of the things they touted was throwing a ball for your dog, which I'm like, that's weird. But I'm really looking forward to that for next year.
It's my favorite thing about these smart home companies is sometimes they'll just be like, and you can do this, and you're like, why would anybody do that?
Great, I can. Like, are you saying I can I throw it like 100 yards or something with the arm? Like, why do I need?
Yeah.
Like, then the dog's got to bring it back. Is the robot going to go find it? I don't know. The whole weird, like the reasons behind these tech things, like the reasons they try and force people to want it doesn't make any sense.
No.
But that's why we're here, right?
That's why we're here. We're here to explain it. Chris, thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
All right. Bye. The Kansas City Chiefs are I'm annoyed that they're probably good again.
It's understandable. Like I get it. Like I fully embrace, the Patriot hate that's now shifted to the Chiefs.
Sure.
I get it. I understand, everybody loved the Chiefs and they're the underdog that finally got some things going. And now it's like, the vast majority of people are like, can we be done with them now? I understand. It's fine. I get it. No big deal. I'm here for it. Like I've got, every time you say you're a Chiefs fan, everybody's gonna be like, yeah, because they started winning. I'm like, I've got a blanket in my shop building behind me that literally is older than most people watching this probably. So that's fine.
You are tried and true Kansas City Chiefs fan. Yeah, man, it's been a crazy. I mean, just big picture. It's been a crazy season.
Over. Yeah, the entire NFL season has been wild. Like, who thought the Colts would be 5-1 and have a leading offense?
Not me.
Like,
I was not paying attention to the Colts. In the offseason. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I did not think. I mean, that's true of like half of the teams that are currently like you're like have winning records. You're like, wait, what is
the
happening?
Seahawks are good?
And then right, yeah, it's. I guess like Aaron Rodgers is back? Question mark. Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, so far, like
what is happening?
Some of the teams haven't really played a hard schedule yet because a lot of these teams were terrible, have been terrible for years, so they have an easier schedule. But even then, like they were terrible for years, and they had a terrible schedule last year, and the Colts struggled last year, but they got it this year. I'm not entirely surprised by the Bucs. Because they've been in and out, they've been on the edge. They've had injuries. Baker's playing well, so I'm not shocked by them. But they haven't played necessarily a terribly difficult schedule yet. It gets wild, and the Chiefs have got a tough schedule, and the Bills have got a tough schedule, and so they're going to come into it. And the first game of the season, I get sucks because I think their Chargers are a pretty decent team and they're a division team. But there's all the excuses of one person can't make or break a team, but I think that's not entirely true.
Yeah.
But when you plan your entire offense around, like, you're centered around one person, the centerpiece of your offense goes out 3 plays in with Worthy when Travis and him run into each other in the first game, 3 plays in.
Yeah.
Like, it everything's like, oh, crap, what do we do now? And it throws everything off, and you got to regather everything and stuff. But, you know, it is what it is. And I'm still not excited about playing the Bills. I don't want to. Because they're still the Bills. They still have the tools there, and they can if they could still spark at any point and finally figure it out. Just like the Eagles.
What I'm frustrated by, this is like the completely wrong week for us to have this conversation. Because what I'm frustrated by.
Who do the Bills play this week?
We're on a bye.
Oh, you're on a bye. Okay, all right.
We're on a bye. This is our bye week.
You can't.
Thank God.
Can't lose that, right?
Well, so like. We're 4-0, and we're, you know, feeling good about that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, like the Ravens game was like a massive comeback or whatever. But count me as one of those people that went to bed. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Like I watched the first half, a little more than the first half of that game. And I was like, I've seen this. This is a rerun.
Yeah,
I've seen this game before. I know how it ends. It ends at like, well, it ends at like 40-24, right? And Ravens. And I'm like, I'm going, you know, and the next morning I wake up and I'm like, it's 41-40. And I genuinely did, like, I had to like blink. I had to like do this, you know, because I just woken up and I was like, wait, what?
Check the calendar. Is this April?
Yeah.
This is not April, is it?
Right. And then the Jets game went totally fine because the Jets are once again the Jets. Yeah. And it doesn't matter who's in charge of that organization, who's a quarterback, the Jets are the Jets. And so the Dolphins game was closer than I think it should have been. Yeah. And then the Saints game was way closer than it should have been.
Yeah, I honestly thought I was checking that. I was like, "Ooh, the Saints might actually get this one."
Right. And I'm like, and the Saints game in particular, I watched with a bunch of my friends. And that game ended, and all of us were like, well, like a win's a win, but that was a like frustrating victory.
Well, that was all season last year for the Chiefs fans.
Trust me. I mean, it was frustrating for me too, but on the other side of it.
Yeah. How do they keep winning this damn thing?
So and then we play the Patriots, and like Drake May just stunts on us.
Which he's not terrible this year.
No, he's a good quarterback. Yeah. And let me tell you, I added him on my fantasy team. Yeah. And he's given, and I had a rough start. And he's helping me out, and then this Falcons game, and it was just, this Falcons game was one of those games where it's not even it's not a fun game to watch. You're just and it's just like bad play after bad play, questionable play after. I mean, that
was the Chiefs Jags game for me.
Yeah, and it happens, and I'm trying not to be too. But
it's one of those games that happens. You're like, do we suck?
Right.
Like, is this not just
like,
a
we're
fluke?
frauds.
Yeah, is this not just a fluke? Like, these other games, we've had some rough games, things that we maybe shouldn't have won or we barely won, and then we have this game. Like, do we actually suck? Like, are we not good?
It's rough. It's rough, and like you know, it's weird to be like, actually, I don't think our defense is the problem this year. They are a little bit. I think Bobby Babbage needs to figure out how to have it the second half defense also on the field for the first half. Because it keeps happening where like he plays the first half of the game and like the defense is just like unable to stop anything. It happens in the Falcons game. They scored 21 points in that, you know, that or 24 points, right, or whatever, and then in the first half, and then in the second half they scored 3
so the field goal points.
It was nothing.
And then they tried to give it away.
And the offense just wasn't. So like, to me, it's so weird because usually I'm frustrated about our defense, but it's so weird for this year to be like, once again, looking at the offense and even like Josh Allen and being like, what are you guys like doing out there? Like, what are these play calls? Like, we're like just like constantly handing the ball off to James Cook, who's a great running back, but like it's like, you know, he's being overused compared to previous seasons by like 2 or 3 times, and we've got like, you know, the everybody eats mentality has now just like died. As it's like, okay, well, like, sure, I guess you can throw it. You have Josh Allen, but if all you have are other teams WR4s, who cares if everybody's eating? They're all WR4s, and like maybe that game goes differently if Josh Palmer doesn't get hurt because his 2 catches were great, but you know, it's like, I don't know what we're doing. And so
it's so strange.
I hope this bye week helps.
And
but
it's so strange that, I mean, honestly, for the Bills, like, it really couldn't have come at a better time to finally regroup, like, get their heads out of their butts and get things going. Because it's so strange with the Bills and the Bills. It's Bills, Bengals, Ravens, Chiefs for the last 5 years or so, and it's so weird to see. I'm glad that my team's not one of them that's like falling off after being great. Like,
it
super
seems
bad.
like you guys have. It was a rough first 3 or 4 weeks.
Starting to figure some things out.
Settled, yeah.
But like, it's so weird that the Bills were consistently scary good. Like, they always had there's always one little part that just never quite latched to really finish it.
Season.
But they're always there. Like, they're like, okay, they're good. They're gonna figure this one thing out and they're gonna be really good.
We never do.
And this year it's fallen apart more so. The Ravens, granted, Lamar's injured, but they weren't doing great before he was injured. Their defense is struggling, and then the Bengals are all over the place. Burrow's injured and he's done, but they've been kind of rough the last couple of years. Like, they're one of those teams that, like, they're good if they can figure out whatever's going on internally. And so it's weird with you, like we said before, like with so many of the main teams that have been the scary teams for last 5 years or so in the NFL.
Not quite the same thing this year. It's like there are other scary teams,
random teams that have been out. Like, and maybe it's this is the way it probably is supposed to be.
Yeah, it's been a cycle. We've gone through a whole.
You're a bad
cycle.
team. You get higher draft choices, and hopefully you get some good picks that make some noise. That makes you get a good coach in there that can manage it and be good and get some stuff. And then you start doing decent, and then in trade you can finally start getting some players that. Okay, they've got stuff going. I'm willing to go there because they have the money to pay me because they're not paying anybody else because they're all like young draft picks. And you get a good player in there and they can start moving up. And this is kind of the way it works usually. And so maybe that's finally hitting the cycle. But it's weird the way that the Bills are struggling this year because it's not like they lost a ton of people.
No, I think it really is. It's a rough strategy from them, I think. And I think especially on Monday's game, Joe Brady, our OC, like really struggled to come up with responses once Palmer was out. Like it felt like he didn't know what to do and was not adjusting to the game script, which is why, despite all those stops in the second half, it didn't amount to anything.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I do think at a certain point, it's like, okay, like it was fun for a season to have this, like, we don't need digs, like everybody eats, like, let's go, like, mentality, right? It was fun for a season.
Yeah.
I do think Josh Allen deserves a WR1. Not even needs, but like deserves it. Like, like we should have that talent.
He should have a solid. Well, I mean, Shakir he's good. I mean, he's not your deep threat. He's not going to break.
No,
up.
he's going
to catch it across the middle and bust it loose that way. But yeah, I agree. That's the same way. I mean, even the Chiefs, like, we didn't have one receiver. Like, it was Rashee Rice. We lost Tyreek. Rashee Rice was going to be it. He came on his rookie year, and the end of the year he came on like he's it. Then he gets injured. And then obviously he has his legal issues and things like that. So he's done. Then we bring in Worthy, but we have no number one until he starts coming on at the end of the year. And then you lose him. So I mean, even with the Chiefs, like, you can see the struggles without a wide receiver one. It's difficult to win in this league unless you've got just a monster run game. And the Chiefs obviously don't have that.
James Cook looks great this year, but like, Josh isn't even like, use him as a receiver. Use it like be a little smarter with how you're using him. Don't just always just force him to just run it like and hope he finds a path through defenders. Like I don't know. It really feels like a game script problem more than anything, in addition to kind of a personnel problem. But mostly it's just kind of like, I don't think you guys are thinking through. You guys are playing like should all just be easy victories, and we should just be able to, like, I don't know. It's just kind of
is Joe Brady, did he, because you guys did a mid-season switch of OC coordinators.
Well, and this is the other thing, right? Is that this happens every year where it's like,
you just did
we start out like pretty okay, and then like the floor falls through at one point, and everybody goes like, we're done, we're not making the playoffs, and then like we make some change halfway through the season that like fixes everything. Last year, kind of the exception, where we mostly just it was mostly clean. But 2 years ago, you're right, we were 6-6 headed into the bye, and we fired Ken Dorsey, who was our previous OC. And and Joe Brady was our interim. And I thought Joe Brady did a totally a good job in his place. I think was a much better play caller than Ken Dorsey, and got us. We basically had to win straight to make the playoffs. We had to win straight through, and we did. And we made the wild card slot, and went on like a brief play. I believe we lost the probably to you guys once the divisional.
Yeah. That was when we had to go on the road. Yeah.
Right. Yes. So I can't escape this feeling that like last year was kind of our shot, but and God, that was a close game against you guys at home, but in Buffalo. But it is what it is. But yeah, man, I for me, it's kind of like this mentality that the Bills have of like, we don't need to look for outside talent. We can just so like, I don't even know if they interviewed anyone else besides Joe Brady. They just kind of handed him the job. And I don't think he's like a bad OC, but it's sometimes I'm like, you guys can look for other people. Like we don't have
maybe
to like,
a little out of his league, maybe
a little bit. Yeah. We don't have to be static all the time. Like we can bring in fresh talent with new ideas. And instead it just seems like
and the Chiefs are similar with talent wise. Like it was weird when they brought in Hopkins, like DeAndre Hopkins last year. Like I was sad we let him go. I understand. I mean, he wants the money, and the Chiefs aren't going to pay big money to a receiver when they feel like they can develop him in house. And for the most part, they've done okay with it. And I think because Mahomes is good enough as he is, and I think the biggest problem has been our left side of the offensive line for the last few years, and hopefully we kind of get that's sorted out this year, even though we've got some weird drama going on over there again. But I think if you get enough time, if your quarterback has the time, and Allen's good enough too, if you give him the time, like he can hit, if his receivers are at least competent and like willing to try, and like they have the chemistry, even if they're not the highest skilled and most flashy receiver, if they at least have the chemistry and the timing down, and he has time to throw the ball, it can happen.
And they keep trying to make it happen with Keon Coleman, and it hasn't clicked. And it's frustrating because we're on season, and he got hurt last year, but we're on season 2 of this. And yeah. Okay. That went on way. I'm going to have to edit this down a little bit.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.